So one of the things that we want to restore after surgery is a normal gait pattern. So, and I'd like patients to return to a normal gait pattern as soon as is possible. And granted, this is limited by their range of motion, their pain symptoms, and whatnot, but I would like them to return to that as soon as possible, because a normal gait pattern is going to minimize the chances of developing post-operative anterior knee pain, contralateral hip pain, or low back pain from altered gait mechanics, because any gait abnormalities that are caused by your knee are going to cause other problems elsewhere in your spine as your body tries to balance itself. So the quicker we can return to a normal gait pattern, the better. Now, I also tell my patients that the crutches are there primarily for comfort, and I'd like them to discontinue or stop using the crutches as soon as is possible. And they can wean themselves from 2 to 1 crutch, from 1 crutch to a cane, and from a cane to nothing as soon as they can. However, it is more important that they have normal gait mechanics with a normal heel-toe pattern than it is for them to get rid of the crutches. And so if they can only walk without the crutches with a limp, I would rather have them use the crutches, develop the normal gait pattern, and then discontinue the crutches once their leg is stronger. Then I would have to have them get rid of the crutches prematurely, but develop an antalgic or limping gait, and then other problems because of that. So if we're talking now about the crutches, there are some things that we need to discuss to make sure that you are using the crutches properly. And so one of the first things is that you want to make sure that the crutches are adjusted to your height. So the crutches are typically sizable, and if you have these aluminum crutches, then you'll see the height measurements along the side, which will tell you what length to make the bottom component for your size. And this set of crutches goes from 5'10" to 6'6", and there are different crutches for people who are smaller or shorter or taller. So when you first start out with the crutches, if you are standing with your legs straight, you don't want the crutches to be up underneath your armpits. And this is because the nerves from the brachial plexus run through here. And oftentimes patients will come and they'll say, oh, well, I have numbness in my hands, I have numbness in my arms, and that's because they have the crutches placed too high up into the axilla or their armpits, and they're putting pressure on the brachial nerves. So this is not good. What you want is to have the pads of the crutch rest against your chest wall about a hand's breadth or a couple of inches down from the armpit. So that's the overall position, and you want to make sure that when you are using the crutches, that your shoulders can be in a relaxed state, and that your arms are relatively, you can have your arms relatively straight. And this is so that when you straighten your arm, you can elevate your body a small amount to allow that leg to clear the ground. So this is the initial position of the crutches that you do. So, and when you are using the crutches, initially because you are unable to bear weight on your leg, you want to use the crutches and your non-operative leg to bear the weight. But as you become stronger and as your pain symptoms decrease, then you want to have the crutches share the weight. So first bear the weight, but then share the weight as you progressively put more load on your operative leg. And typically, in terms of progressing with the crutches, I'll tell my patients to use the crutches for as long as is required, and then as they feel more comfortable, they can go from 2 crutches down to 1 crutch, down to no crutches or a cane, and then to nothing. Okay, so some people are able to just discontinue use of the crutches altogether, but usually I'll tell people to do it in a progressive manner, weaning from 2 to 1, 1 to a cane, cane to nothing, just so that generally they'll feel more comfortable. Okay, and there are a number of ways to traverse different terrain. So we'll do a little demonstration of how to walk with the crutches and those types of things, and I'll do that next. So the way that we use the two crutches will vary depending on how much weight you're allowed to place on that operative side, or how much weight you can place on the operative side. So I'm going to demonstrate walking first with the crutches and putting no weight on that operative side, and then I'll demonstrate after that how we walk if you're allowed to put weight. So if you're not allowed to put weight, again, as I said, you want to have the pads of the crutches against your chest wall, a couple of inches down from your armpit, and you want to have the arms straight. You're using your hands to bear the weight, bear your body weight in conjunction with the non-operative leg. So this would be walking without bearing any weight on the operative side. And once again, as I come back, and watch how the crutches come out and around. So notice that the operative leg doesn't touch the ground there. So if we were allowed to put weight, however, on our operative leg, then the crutch pattern will be a little bit different. And as I said before, it's important that we start right from the first time that we can bear weight on that leg to develop a normal gait pattern. So you're going to support most of your weight with the crutches. Again, as I come back, crutch, touch, touch, crutch, operative, non-operative, crutch, touch, touch. And pay attention to how I make sure, even on the operative leg, to heel, toe. So one more time, crutch, heel, toe, crutch, heel, toe, crutch, heel, toe, crutch, heel, toe. As we become stronger or more comfortable bearing weight on that operative leg, we can wean ourselves from two crutches down to one crutch. So the way that I advise my patients to do this is to take the crutch and put that on the opposite side of the operative leg. And so when they step forward, they can now bear some of the weight, share the weight of that operative leg on the non-operative side and step through. Now, once we have feel comfortable without walking with the crutches, you can step to a cane if you want, or you can go straight to walking without. But it's very important that we walk with normal gait mechanics, and I keep referring to that, and I do so because it's quite important to make sure that you don't develop hip pain on the other side or low back pain as your pelvis tries to compensate for the altered gait. And so by normal gait mechanics, what I mean is touching down with a full leg extension with the heel, rolling through the foot, and then coming to the other side to continue with the normal heel-toe pattern. And so I'll first demonstrate what I would like to see in my patients, and then I'll demonstrate what we typically see in patients after they've had knee surgery. So with the normal gait pattern, we can see that I walk with a full stride through the operative leg, and the time that I spend on each leg is equivalent. So the same amount of time on the operative leg as I spend on the non-operative leg. What we typically see with our patients will be this. Now notice the time spent on the operative leg is shorter than it is on the non-operative leg. And you sort of have to catch yourself as you are falling each stride. So that's the antalgic gait, but as I said, we'd like to restore a normal gait pattern. initially, when you walk in this manner, or when you first start to walk in the normal gait pattern, there might be some discomfort in the back of the knee and also in the front of the knee. And in the back of the knee, we will often have a little bit of discomfort because the capsule at the or the posterior capsule behind the knee and some of the structures in the back of the knee, such as the hamstrings, tend to become a little bit shorter and tight after we have surgery. So because of that tightness, you may have some discomfort as we walk and as we try to achieve a fully extended gait pattern. Also, they may develop some pain in the front of the knee because if they've been walking for any significant period of time with a bent leg, the leg has to, or the muscles of the leg have to distribute the stress that is going through there throughout the entire length of this anterior chain. And so that means from up top right down to the bottom, which would be through the patellar tendon. And oftentimes, if people have been walking with a bent knee gait, they're going to have abnormal pressures running through the anterior chain, through the quadricep tendon, patella, and the patellar tendon, and they're going to develop discomfort there. And also, because the VMO part of the quad is weak, their patellar tracking is not going to be normal, and so they may develop some discomfort behind the patella as well. So when they first start to walk with a normal gait pattern and challenge the VMO and start to get it firing, they may have some residual pain behind the knee and the front of the knee because of the gait pattern that they had previously. But I always caution my patients to expect this and to work through this. This doesn't mean that there's something wrong. This just is a reflection of the problems that they've had up until that point. They need to work through that discomfort to restore the normal gait pattern. So once again, they may have, when they first start doing this, a little bit of discomfort behind the knee and in front of the knee. But I challenge them to continue walking with a normal gait pattern with full extension and to work through that discomfort to restore the normal gait pattern.